Good morning. I have Mr. Jeremy Merklinger with me today. We are going to talk a little bit about the cost of youth athletics. So, Jeremy, tell me a little bit about your role with the Coastal Crusaders.
Sure. So, Coastal Crusaders is a youth tackle football program that was started 3 years ago, and it currently has participants from the ages of 6 to 12, and that age range includes 3 divisions, what would be 8 and under, 10 and under, and 12 and under. And that is a municipal-based team or organization that plays in a league with, excuse me, let me correct that. It's a community-based, not municipal-based, community-based organization that plays in a league with both municipal-based and community-based organizations.
So what would it cost an athlete to play for either of those 8 and under, 10 and under, or 12 and under teams?
So the cost per player is $100, and we can go into what that cost entails if you want.
Sure, please.
So and I will share with you that cost is the costs range considerably for a community-based organization, which is to say we're not backed by taxes and rec departments. $100 is definitely on the low side. I know that locally they have some as high as $250 to $300, and then organizations in the larger cities and suburbs of Atlanta, I know can get $500 plus. But so that $100 entails obviously the cost of registration. And within that, and we can talk about my costs, but what does the player see? The player gets a jersey, football pants, football socks, a decal for their helmet. They get what we call a sports pack, which are shorts and a t-shirt. And that also includes usually a trophy at the end of the year, a small trophy or a medal of some sort. And then also a playing one extra game or a bowl game at the end of the year. So, and the banquet.
Very good.
So that's a lot.
That covers your costs for officials as well?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
So
that's your cost.
There's what we collect does not cover all costs. Okay. So there's some sponsorship as well as.
And that was going to be my next question. So what are you doing to try and to keep that cost down, knowing that you're under what some of your competitors are pricing at?
Quite frankly, I'll probably have to raise the cost. So, and there's a lot that goes into it. But so the overall budget, kind of round numbers, if it's going to be $14,000 to run this, we'll spend $2,500 on officials for the games. And football, so when dealing with youth sports, like anything else, there's economies of scale. If you want to have the kids enjoy their experience, that's predicated usually on one thing and one thing only, and it's not winning. It's, for the younger kids, it's playing time. So in order to get more playing time, you need to reduce the roster size. When you reduce the roster size, the per child increases. Because whether you have 15 kids or 5 kids, the cost for the officials is the same. The cost to get the field is the same. For the most part, my insurance costs the same. That's based on age, and the higher age, more likely someone to get injured. So there's a lot of factors, and I'm rambling a little bit. But of the say $13,000 to $14,000 of our budget, $2,500 goes to the officials, and then uniform costs this year will be in the neighborhood of about $5,000. Let's call it $4,000 because there's some other stuff, but $5,000, and that'll include the decals. So that eats up a lot. So I've got 75 kids. So between officials and uniforms, if every kid pays their money, then there's still the trophies. There's still a lot of other things that go into it. But we rely on sponsorships, as do they help.
What's your process of getting those sponsors, and explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so usually your first source of sponsors is a parent on the team. I mean, that's the easiest, or a grandparent. And so for us, that we got $2,000 in sponsorships this year, which in the big picture, if we've got a $14,000 or $13,000 budget, that's not bad. I mean, it's 16-17%, which is pretty good.
Indeed.
So, but that came from one grandparent, a wealthy grandparent who gave $1,000, and then two small business owners that were parents that each gave $500. That is a source that we need to tap more.
Mm-hmm.
Quite frankly, as you do these interviews, the most important part of keeping costs down, this is something I'm learning, is for the coaches and the commissioners, that's me, to not be in charge of money.
Mm.
I mean, that is the single biggest source of keeping costs down. I started this because of the involvement of the church that I'm a part of a school that you obviously know, and then the love of coaching for kids and for my sons. I didn't start this because I'm good with money.
Sure.
I don't know for a fact, but my personal experience is most coaches aren't the guys who work at banks and who are accounting and finance guys. Not to say that's not the case, but it usually doesn't work out that way. So I would say the biggest way to keep costs down is to, once you start your organization, once you get involved in youth sports, you need to find someone whose job is good at keeping costs down. Or, find the other guy to help you with sponsorships. And we've got that part down. That part will grow. So, and that doesn't only go from my days with the Crusaders. I've for a decade now, I've been doing youth sports. I go through every other community-based group that I'm a part of. And even some of the municipal guys that I know, their struggle is always costs. But for them, it's a little bit easier because they can stand behind, the township or the city says, if you don't pay us, you can't play. When you're a community-based team and part of your mission is to kind of open your arms to people, it's really hard to say, pay me or your kid doesn't come tomorrow.
Right.
So anyways, keeping costs down is getting the right finance or getting the right number of crunchers involved in your approach.
That's a great point.
Long answer to a short question.
Well, Jeremy, I appreciate your time this morning, and we'll follow up in the weeks to come.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great. You can ask me more questions.